My freshman year in college, I participated in a benefit performance to raise money for a local nonprofit. And I led my sorority through the planning of this event, and we put together a great performance where I got to star as Fergie. It was fun, y'all, like really fun. I made so many new friends, and we raised a ton of money for a local nonprofit that I cared a lot about. So fast forward 2 years later, I was given the position of lead organizer for this event. And I wanted to include more people in the event. Because if we included more people, we could raise more money and have an impact that was even bigger. So my first order of business was to get on the agenda for the upcoming Multicultural Consortium meeting, which was a weekly meeting where many of our multicultural and culturally based organizations met. My logic was simple. I go to the meeting, tell them about this amazing event, invite them to participate, they do, and bam, everyone wins. So to prepare for the meeting, I did what any passionate person does. I created an overly detailed PowerPoint presentation and presented the information to the group. Crickets. But I went to another meeting and another, and still we were no closer to my end game. But I showed up week after week, and I was laser focused. And after meeting 9, one of the leaders of this larger council pulled me aside to chat, and I thought, this was the moment. I am finally going to get the yes I've been waiting for. And what came next was a moment I'm just not sure it was the one I was hoping for. I will never forget, she looked me square in the eye and said, "Nikki, I really appreciate your passion for this event. And while I do believe that you are well-intended, I don't think you're well-informed." My stomach sank. Then I felt attacked. How was she going to tell me how informed I was about an event I was planning? I couldn't even tell you what she said next, because for the next minute or so, I just sat there and kind of loosely listened as I thought of what I was going to say next. And I remember spewing some sort of response that made somewhat sense to me in my head, but probably didn't come out the way that I wanted it to. And ultimately, I remember leaving that conversation feeling really deflated and confused. So I'm gonna be honest, I thought about it for a couple days, and then those thoughts just kind of fizzled away. Long story short, the event happened. It was a hit, y'all. We raised more money than we ever had before, and I continued to be a student leader. In fact, I loved it so much that I pursued a career in college student personnel so I could keep working with college students all across the country. And in 2017, I found myself working as an assistant director at Purdue University. Now, a similar situation came up, only this time, I was serving as an advisor to the student organizations I so desperately wanted to include in my event as a student. I remember sitting in my office, kind of hunched over, a little uncomfortable, if I can be honest. I didn't know what to say. I mean, let's face it, my track record was not the best in this area. But I did what any good advisor does, and I listened to the students as they were describing what was happening. And what happened next changed my life for forever. One of the students said, "I mean, they are being nice. It's just about more than that, you know? Like, they've already planned this whole event, and I just wish they would have included us from the beginning. And I don't know how to tell them that." He then went on and later looked at me and asked, "Nikki, how do we tell them that?" And I sat there, flooded with emotions and flashbacks to my time as a student leader planning that benefit performance. I took a deep breath, and I said, "I think you say just that. I think you tell them that inclusion is about more than just being nice." And it was in that moment I realized I had been going about this inclusion thing all wrong. See, before 2017, I was operating largely off the assumption that inviting people to something was including them. And I've spent the last 6 years realizing that inclusion is about more than just inviting people to things. It's about more than just being nice. And that's the problem. Our inclusion efforts are largely driven by niceness, a pull up the chair mentality where we recognize that not everyone is present, so we pull up a chair and include them. The problem with this is the table wasn't built for 20 chairs. It was only ever intended for 10. And we need to get out of the mindset that adding more is going to give us more of what we want. We don't need more chairs. We need a new table. Now, our inclusion efforts have largely been based off the assumption that more trainings, more events, more things will ultimately foster more inclusion. And in many ways, I think we've fallen into like this checkbox mentality where we are literally doing things just to do them, instead of reflecting on the impact that those things could actually have. And that's why we need to get really clear on our intentions. If I could go back and give myself one piece of advice, it would be this. Inclusion efforts, where the primary goal is to make us, as the includer, feel good, are self-serving. They cause people to lose trust in us and ultimately distance themselves from us and everything we do. Being really, truly, genuinely inclusive is going to require us to build a lot of new tables. Now, I'm using the table as a metaphor here for the things that we do. Maybe it's how you apply for jobs or how you elect the next president of your student organization. It is not enough to attach a mandatory training to everything that we do. If we really want to be inclusive, we are going to have to change the way we do things in the first place, which means we're going to have to be okay with letting go of the things that aren't working for all of us. Here is what I know to be true. Inclusion is about action. It's about choices. And being truly inclusive is going to require us to consistently make choices that allow, account for, and encourage more people. And that is the starting point for our solution. And I believe this solution has the power to transform our schools, our places of work, our organizations. As individual people, we have to be willing to make choices that allow, account for, and encourage more people. Specifically, people who have been marginalized, people who have been excluded, people who are different than us. This is going to give us the type of world that we want to live in. So whether you're a student leader planning an event on your campus or an employee responsible for email communications to your broader team, ask yourself, who do you allow? Who do you account for? And who do you encourage? And when there are gaps, find small ways to adjust accordingly. If your event doesn't account for people who are working a job while they're in school, how might you fix that? If your email communications are only resonating with people who are just like you, what could you change? This type of reasoning and thinking can help you get really clear on the areas of your life you can actually control. It can help you think really intentionally about how you can include more people as you interact with them. Because we interact with a ton of people every day. The world is a big place. And I believe that there's room for all of us, so long as we make the room. So do me a favor. The next time that you're planning an event or even just bringing people together informally, I want you to ask yourself, are you actually being inclusive or are you just being nice? Thank you.